Hey guys, a few days ago I sent out a community post asking people to take a quiz to self-assess basically how competitive of a meta-playing zero cycler they are. I did this in the format of the Rice Purity Test, which, for those who don't know, is a 100 question checklist where the more questions you tick off that apply to you, the less pure you are. Or in zero cycler terms, the more you need to go and touch grass. The Rice Purity Test has a long-standing tradition of being passed around to new students during orientation week in Rice University, Texas, which is where it gets its namesake from and is, of course, known far beyond its origins. And yeah, this quiz has no such legacy. I just made it on a whim. But, it got a bit more traction than I thought. Do keep in mind that the results in this survey are collected from a small sample size, and even then I have a feeling that my audience is composed of, say, a certain type of people. Love y'all. Without further ado then, let's get into the results. The average score this time was 37.17, meaning that the average response checked off a bit more than 37 answers since I couldn't program Google Forms to do it where a lower score equals more questions answered like the actual Rice Purity Test. A whopping 19 of you scored 17 points, followed by 18 who scored 30 and 31 points. From there, it levels off on either side, spiking towards either end with 5 scoring 0 points, though honestly I have a feeling some of y'all might be lying given how technically you could fill out the survey as many times as you'd like with no consequence, and at the other extreme, exactly 2 people scoring 86 points. No one filled out anything higher though, no suspicious hundreds or anything of the sort, so you know what, maybe my lack of trust was unfounded. Perhaps some apologies are due. Also, quite a few YouTubers I watched filled out the survey and reported their scores, so I'll take a second to put up their results right now. Wonder if you'll recognize any of them. Now on to the distribution of the question themselves. Well, why not share the top results with y'all, Family Feud style? Alrighty, on the left side we have Team Bellabong's Best, featuring Sela, Sampo, and Hook. Good to see you all, especially after your recent practice spars against Sparog. And on the right side, we have Team Galactic Interlopers? Actually, that makes a lot of sense. I see you guys basically everywhere. Okay, moving on to our questions. We polled 634 respondents on YouTube. Out of those results, which questions were answered the most? I'll turn it over to Galactic Interlopers first. Argenti? That's fair. Okay, knows what a zero cycle is. Yup, that's our number one answer with 98.3% of respondents saying that they knew what a zero cycle was. Definitely helps that it's the very first question on the form too. Alright, I'll turn it back over to Hook. Okay, tragic alt presses, is that on the board? Yes it is! It's our number 7 answer. Well then, since Galactic Interlopers hit the number 1 answer, let's have them answer first and go back and forth between the two teams. Silverwolf, what say you? A logical guess indeed, but does it pay off? Indeed it does! That's our 5th highest option, with 84.1% of respondents having every single Trailblazer Eidolon. Low-key though, that's lower than I thought. Alright, let's turn it over to Sampo. What do you think, old pal? Wow, and who better than Sampo to make such a guess? The original 10% worse than Black Swan Man himself. Do we have that on the board? Of course we do! 82.7% of respondents said yes to this knowledge check, ranking it firmly in 6th. Now it's back to Yen Qing. Ah yes, a classic meme. Has it stood the test of time? Oh, who am I kidding? It's been more relevant than ever recently. 4th place with 88.5% of respondents affirming that it might, in fact, be popular. And finally, Sela? Ah, some fellow hunt rivalry, huh? I'd hope so too, especially since both of you are now 50-50 lost candidates. I mean, what? Yes, knows the difference between limited and standard cost? And there it is, 3rd place with 89.6% aware of the different categories of 5 stars. Alright, since this fictional skit I totally made up has dragged on long enough, let's look at answers 2 and 8, shall we? And the 8th most answered question was, use the terms brick, shill, wheelchair, and Robin Tribby showcase before. Man, 79.3% of you guys are familiar with the art of the agenda, it seems. I mean, not that I'm immune to glazing Librania myself, but, that's good to know. And finally, for the second most answered question, with 94.3% of respondents saying yes. Oh, well, that's certainly a high number of people that follow pre-release character kits. I may need to reconsider the no leak stance of this channel. It's kind of an open secret anyway, so, yeah, how do you do, fellow? Anyways, the bottom 10 most answered questions are as follows. I don't understand what witchcraft 10.88% of you are conducting to get 3 relics with 12 speed or more, much less the 2.37% of you with 5 or more said god pieces. The 3.15% of y'all with like 45 plus effective substats on your main character, well, congrats, I guess. You get like, what, 8 to 9 max offensive substats per piece, including like attack percent and speed, plus third to a half point for flat substats. You've officially won at that character. Unless you're using a rainbow set, in which case, back to the mines it is. No, I'm just kidding, do whatever you want. As for my fellow vertical investors, I'm surprised that 8.36% of you have E1 of every single limited harmony, though I'm not sure if I should have expected that number to be lower or higher. E1 plus Sparkle seems to be the breaking point for many, followed closely by E1 Sunday if I had to guess. It's a good thing I dropped the survey before Ceredra's release as well, because something tells me a lot of people are going to be skipping her. Also, congrats to the 7.41% of players who have E2 Fugue. Hope Break's still treating you well with the best break support in the game. And for Zero Cycle challenges, I'm low-key surprised only 6% of people here use 4-piece guard, especially considering how good Quantum Set was back in 1.0, and knowing that even to this day it still has its uses on Anaxa, Archer, and weird stuff like Von Wack Tribby. And back then, Steal was good too, especially for Zero Cycles. Though until global passives were a thing, gimping your own defense and HP was rare, even with Linksha existing, so I can understand not finding a way to squeeze value out of Guard's conditional 5 energy. It's really nice on Arlen though, I will say, but I know like 3 people who've Zero Cycled with Arlen, and one of them is me, and heck, I've never Zero Cycled MOC 12 with him either. As for the other stuff, I know it says 4.73%, but thinking about the fact that 30 of the people who answered my survey have logged over 2,000 MOC attempts in one rotation.
Stop it. Get some help.
Also, if you've done a true Zero Cycle with no Harmony characters and or a Zero Cycle with 0 limited cost, let me know when and what teams you use in the comments. I don't know of many configurations that could do it, besides maybe next rotation with Casper's one side and DOT the other for the double 0. And Himiko versus like the first Choir for the 0 limited cost single 0. Or like a really old MOC with Chingsha or something, I don't know. By the way, the collective responses to this quiz will be available for viewing in the description if you want to take a look. For now though, I'll be looking at a couple more categories. One of my personal favorites, knowledge checks. Feel free to pause this video and figure out the answers for yourself, but I'll be revealing them in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There! I tried to pick questions that I know would benefit most Zero Cycle rotations and analyses, but if there's something I missed, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any unique interactions you're aware of that, to your knowledge, not many people have covered, feel free to leave a comment about that too. I love discovering new interactions and highlighting them. Whether or not they're actually useful doesn't matter too much. For the second category, we have a Relic Check, basically just an RNG or dedication flex. Maybe you've gotten these breakpoints from relic manipulation, which I will not get into as I honestly don't know enough to concretely confirm or deny it. All I know is that different RNG seeds exist, that games can't program true random, and anecdotally that relic rolls tend to follow very loose patterns within specific windows of time. For some perspective, 40 crit value relics have to be 4-liners with all 5 rolls going into crit, and also need a decent amount of mid and high rolls, so they're pretty much the gold standard. The highest possible crit value a relic can have, since max rolls are 6.48 crit value, either half that much in crit rate or exactly that much in crit damage, is 45.36. So if you have a 45 crit value piece, congrats! That's the highest possible crit that one piece can have, since the next lowest roll is 0.648 crit value lower. Speed rolls are valued at either 2, 2.3, or 2.6, so a 12 plus speed relic is possible with only 4 rolls into speed, assuming you get the total equivalent of 3 high rolls and 2 mid rolls. Of course, compared to crit, you only have 1 substat to roll into, so it's actually significantly harder to acquire, and the substantially smaller population that has 5 of these relics is testament to that. That or it's a testament to what we truly value. Speed, after all, loses value beyond a certain breakpoint, but with crit, that breakpoint is much harder to precisely define. Also, big damage numbers feel better. As for effective substats, assuming that attack percent, or whatever percent stat your DPS scales on, crit rate, crit damage, and speed all count as substats. The max effective substats per piece is 9, 8 if your main stat is one of these stats, and as low as 7 if speed doesn't matter. This means that your max effective substats per character, assuming they're a crit DPS, is around 51, if assuming attack percent or equivalent rope, crit chest, and speed or attack equivalent boots. All of this to say that a 45 plus effective substat character is very, very hard to get. And if you're a break DPS that primarily scales off break effect, speed, and maybe attack, technically Boothill has built-in crit, but it's still the overwhelming minority of its damage, or a dot DPS with just attack, EHR, and speed, well, yeah, unless you also count flat stats, getting 45 effective subs on a non-crit character can genuinely be impossible. Hitting effective speed breakpoints is best done by increasing your character's speed by 18% through relics. This is done with a 2-piece speed set, by mixing and matching Messenger, Sacerdoce, and Goddess. 4-piece Goddess for healers doesn't count for this question, by the way, since the extra speed bonus procs in battle, not before, along with the 2-piece speed planer, either Kalpagni or Tree. Funny enough, the character that has the highest speed before battle, Hyacine, actually uses these sets almost exactly as their best in slot. With a whopping 14 speed in her traces and 110 base speed, she only needs 31.2 more speed to hit 200 before battle with the 18% speed bonus, or 28.4 more speed with 4-piece Eagle and a 6% speed bonus. That's about 12 max speed subs, or 14 average rolls across 5 pieces, and 1 less with Eagle. Honestly, pretty doable since it's anywhere from 2.4 to 2.8 speed rolls per piece. Cypher has 4 less base speed at 106, but still has that plus 14 speed, requiring 2 more speed stats to achieve the same feat, while Hanya has Hyacine's same base speed at 110, but 5 less in her traces, putting her in mostly the same position as Cypher. Still not too bad, given you have the right gear. Of course, although Eagle technically has easier substat requirements, I know not all of you farm the set quite as much, resulting in this question having about 42% less people who fulfill its conditions. Note that equipping Hyacines in Cypher 6, which provide another 18% speed, are helpful to meeting their 200 speed breakpoints, but are not allowed under the premise of this question. For the final category though, with the crit rate chest, after 2-piece Scholar and either Salsoda or Rudolent to raise your crit rate by 16%, you'd have 53.4% crit rate, meaning you need to make up 46.6 crit rate across 5 pieces. Certainly on the higher end, but doable, especially with the other 2-piece option being flexible. As for crit damage, if you really want to maximize your odds to hit 250, you could use 2-piece Wave Strider for 16% more crit damage, although most pure crit damage stacking characters generally don't want that set, as well as 2-piece Banana or Celestial Differentiator. Okay, let's be real, no one's farmed that set. Anyways, after the 50 base crit damage and 64 more from a chest piece, you'll be left with 104 more crit damage to make up in substats, which requires 17 max rolls. 16 will unfortunately land you just 0.32 crit damage short, or 18 average rolls across 5 pieces. If you want to run an actual good set with Sacerdoce and ERR Rope though, then you'll need to make up 136 crit damage, or 21 max rolls, or 24 average rolls. Yeah, I can see why this one got less answers. For Sunday to fulfill the crit damage requirement, for instance, he'd need 287.3% crit damage before battle, factoring in the 37.3% crit damage he gets in his traces. And no, Mighty's Aventurine, Cypher's, and Hyacine's crit boosting traces don't count under this question either. Though I'm sure someone inevitably counted them just like how they may have counted Sunday's traces as part of the 250 crit damage. Eidolons also technically don't count, since none of them to my knowledge offer crit rate in the character select screen, but honestly, this question was worded in such a way that I wouldn't be surprised if they were accidentally counted. Should have been a little bit more explicit about the 250 crit damage or 100 crit rate in the character select screen part, if I'm gonna be honest. And as a final aside for this section, you can definitely game Steelaland's top 1% by choosing less popular categories or using substat sticks like Yenshing's S1 to boost your score, though I'm not sure if the strats are different or have been patched out by now, but competing with other players for a high score makes this category potentially harder than, say, meeting a set substat check on Fribbles or Mobile Meta. The ease of getting a top rank on any of these websites isn't exactly consistent, but it's hard to do no matter which of them you choose. For the Zero Cycling Feats section, there's a lot to cover, so here's the full list split into 2 pages in descending order of percentage yeses. Feel free to pause and take a look if you want, though I'll also have it on the right side of the screen if you can make out the small text. Anyways, some interesting statistics emerge when sorting it this way. For one, over half of players who filled out this form zero cycled with an abundance or preservation unit on the team, notably not named Hyacine, I hope because she's Remembrance, making it the most popular zero cycle question answered on this list. Yeah, even above true zero cycling MOC, which is absolutely crazy to me, especially considering there's over a 3.5% difference. About 48% of players true zero cycled MOC, 41% completed Apocalyptic Shadows true zero cycle equivalent with 3850 score on both sides, and a much smaller 29% true zero cycled Pure Fiction. Yeah, Pure Fiction has always been the hardest to true zero cycle by a country mile out of the 3 endgame modes, so this checks. 20% have used Caster's global passive in a zero cycle rotation. How does it feel, cheaters? Nah, just kidding. I hope your Robins are doing okay though. Also, 34% of y'all are definitely a bit competitive, enduring 500 endgame resets in one rotation. Meanwhile, 16.6% have gambled on a 1% less success chance run, 15% have reset over 1,000 times, 13.4% have depended on cars 1 and 3 RNG to go off, not to mention bought the battle pass code in the first place, and less than 5% of you have over 2,000 resets in one rotation. I just have to ask at this point, are you guys okay? Is the family alright? Or is the prospecting of gambling within gambling fun for y'all too? 11.5% of y'all who filled out the survey have successfully posted a run to Tuopa, so yeah, this survey is really skewed because 1 in 9 is entirely too much. And here's a couple more results I'll briefly throw on screen here just for the heck of it. And here's some honorable mentions for questions I could have included, but either got mentioned to me afterwards or I only just realized after the form went up. Hope y'all enjoyed this more lighthearted video. I certainly had fun making it. Is there anything else I missed? How'd you score on this quiz? Let me know all of that in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day!